50% of this country is not part of this economic miracle that is going to happen or is happening right now. So now if that is the case, can we really make them the partners in this one? NAB Foundation alone should not do this one. Actually, right now we should really bring in every player on this arena, so that actually it will be a very good kind of an effort where a much more impactful kind of a thing can happen.
Today we have with us Dr. G.R. Chintala, Chairman of the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, India's apex development financial institution of the country. He's also the Chairman of the NABARD Consultancy Services, NAB Adventures Limited and NAB Foundation. He's on the board of prestigious institutions like Institute of Rural Management, IRMA, DICGC, and also on the advisory board of IIM Ahmedabad. A postgraduate in seed science and technology from the world-renowned Indian Agricultural Research Institute in New Delhi, Dr. Chintala has had a phenomenal journey in the development sector. A journey which has seen him taking up multiple prestigious assignments in Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and of course in New Delhi, where he represented NABARD in front of the Government of India. During this illustrious career of 35 years, he has several achievements to his credit. Prior to taking over as chairman, Dr. Chintala was the managing director of NABARD Financial Services, the microfinance lending subsidiary of NABARD. He was also the director of the Bankers Institute of Rural Development in Lucknow, one of the premier institutes of the developing world, which offers training, research, and consultancy services in the field of agriculture and rural development banking. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Chintala, and we look forward to our conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to begin with, sir, I think we would like to know about your background. You've had a rich 35 years in this sector. So how did you come into working with NABARD, and what the journey has been like for you?
Yeah, I'm basically from the agricultural stream, as you told that I'm from the Premier Agricultural Research Institute, that is the Indian Agricultural Research Institute in New Delhi. And there was a campus recruitment that time. So I was recruited as the direct grade B officer in NABARD, and my first posting was in the Research and Development Fund of NABARD, which was very good. And many of you may not be maybe aware about this one, that the banks also can have the Research and Development Fund. Actually, NABARD is one institution which is having such kind of an R&D fund, and where we have given quite a lot of projects. And one of that very salient project, which in the present parlance, if you say as the maybe the startup becoming a not unicorn, maybe you can call a multi-corn kind of a thing, is a self-help group project. That SLG project was started as a very small pilot project with the 10 lakh rupees given by NABARD. And subsequently now it has become maybe a movement encompassing close to around 120 million women, with close to around 78 to 80,000 crores of a bank credit collateral free. Wow. And it is doing a yeoman service to the rural women. So now I was there as one of the officers that time at the junior level in that project, and subsequently also actually our involvement was there in such kind of a development things. And in the last 35 years, actually NABARD has got a very unique kind of a structure which is not there with many of the financial institutions. We are both a developmental financial institution, also a commercial, also we do our own activities. So now in that way, it's a profit making and also the development oriented institution. So that my 35 years of journey, I worked in almost around 12 geographies and maybe exposed to various kinds of activities that are happening all over the country. And that is how my grooming had helped me in maybe handling this organization in a much better way today.
Right, that's wonderful to hear, sir. As a pulling from your experience and the inception of the NAB Foundation, can you tell us a little bit about the mission and the vision behind the foundation, and the 4 decades of work that lie behind you? How has your experience been with working in the foundation?
Yeah, and NABARD, as I told, actually our mandate is something, if you really look into our vision and mission statement, actually it is the developmental institution for the nation. Actually, that is how actually we define ourselves. So now this NAB Foundation is nothing but a culmination of our commitment, which we have shown for the past 40 years. And it has emerged out of our mandate itself, actually, because we are doing quite a lot of work in the rural areas, not only for agriculture, but for the remaining rural, the other activities in the rural areas also. So now we have a great amount of a footprint in the watershed development, the tribal development areas, maybe the climate change projects, then the women empowerment, rural industrialization, and subsequently the capacity building of the rural youth to take up the gainful activities. So there's a plethora of activities were being done by NABARD, and also now it is the way actually we are doing in the last 40 years when we are looking and doing all these things. With the help of so many partners, actually, that we draw quite a lot of resources from the civil society organizations, maybe approximately around 6,000 to 7,000 NGOs or civil society organizations are our partners in this progress. So now looking into the experience and other things which we found that there is now the time has come for NABARD to have one foundation which can muster all such resources that are available in the country, and the way we are developing, because NABARD is one organization which spends close to maybe $500 million a year on the developmental activities.
Right.
We are there with so many things, so many activities. So now, why can't we have maybe a foundation which will give a kind of face to the NABARD activities, and also it can muster the support of all the maybe civil society organizations with whom we are working for quite some time. And also we'll have a very focused kind of approach, because in the areas which we are working, so now we can take up maybe some of the problems which are very genuine and which have not been attended to so far, and at the same time requires a kind of a convergence with various players in the thing. It is not the NABARD alone, because what NABARD does is maybe one part, but thing is there are so many other players also, corporates and others, everybody is doing. So now it is time for us to have one kind of, otherwise as NABARD, I cannot take any kind of an assistance from the corporates to come and join with me. But now as a NAB Foundation, actually we can have all such kind of a thing. So that is how this entire thing has been built. And we are very happy that in the last 1 year, a substantial road path has been cleared, and also the many milestones have been achieved.
Right. Absolutely, sir. You make a very important point about convergence, and I think that's where the social sector has been heavily criticized. The lack of collaboration and convergence, with all of us working together towards the same agenda. It's a great idea to collaborate and then work towards impact at scale. Now, so you mentioned that, you work in the sector of agriculture, but there are many other issues like women empowerment, which are important to NAB Foundation. So an interesting project of yours, which is My Pad, My Right. We would like to know a little bit.
Yeah, now we told that NABARD, one very special, maybe I can say speciality of NABARD is, we work in the rural areas with such kind of a depth, probably no other institution have worked. And second thing, long back, because now as I told that when even the government of India has not come out even with the financial inclusion as a kind of a concept. NABARD had started this one in 1987 itself.
Right.
That 100% of the rural women are not having the bank accounts. This is the one which we came to. And subsequently, actually, these people are not part of the economic activity that is going on in the country. Now, though they are doing quite a lot of work and rendering service, but thing is, everything is not measured and not properly compensated. And in the process, actually, that women are not part of this economic growth the country started witnessing that time. So when we started this, our self-help group movement, actually the very premise is that the 50% of this country is not part of this economic miracle that is going to happen or is happening right now. So now if that is the case, can we really make them the partners in this one? So that is how that women empowerment actually is the one. So our first thing was when we started that pilot with 10 lakh rupees and subsequently scaled up. Everywhere we used to tell the same thing, that now women are having 50% stake in the GDP, 50% stake in everything. So now they should not be put behind the purdah. They should not be behind the house and ultimately not able to do anything. Actually, now they should be empowered and they should be enabled to take their own decisions. So actually now an empowered mother can really build a much better society because she can educate her children. She can tell more about their maybe their rights, maybe the hygiene part and everything. So now with all these things in view, actually the last 35-40 years, actually NABARD has done assiduously towards that activity. And that is why now today in the entire world that the Indian self-help group movement is the world's largest, and the United Nations itself had acknowledged it. So having seen the better empowerment and also the way the things are happening at that rural woman level, we thought that now that we have to take maybe few other issues that are plaguing this woman folk in the rural areas. The one part is with regard to the menstrual hygiene. Actually now, despite the progress made even today, actually that our sisters and mothers are still deprived of all this kind of a hygiene kind of a thing. First of all, it's a taboo for the people to talk about. So no, though maybe a very big companies and others are there, but still it's a taboo. So now actually that we want to break that myth and say that now these women should be given this kind of their menstrual hygiene rights, so that actually they can be able, they can afford maybe this one at a very cheaper rate. So that is the first thing. So now to do that kind of thing, actually we did quite a lot of spade work. Actually our NAB Foundation, with a skeletal staff of maybe I can say 2 or 3 people, they have done wonderful job in just getting into groove and see really what is the exact problem and really how to rope in various places into this one. So we maybe got into that Sri Padma Sri Muruganandam's mission, actually, which he got that award. So we came in, we went in touch with him, and subsequently that he gave his consent to supply the machine. So now NABARD, on a kind of a, I can say that maybe decentralized way, actually instead of we doing maybe entire thing at maybe some level and supplying the material, the self-help groups which are already empowered, the women who are already becoming entrepreneurs in their own way, actually now these people were brought into a group and they told that now this machine which is there can be given to them free of cost. And they will be given the entire training as to really how to make the pads, and they should be able to make it and sell it everywhere. So now in the last, despite pandemic and despite the lockdowns that are there, we were able to achieve our target of reaching the machines to all the 28 districts which were identified. And all the women were trained, they started producing the pads, and now we are in touch with the district collectors and also various other people saying that now these pads are there. Actually now they can as well canvas this one in various maybe Mahila Mandals or maybe the schools and every place. So now it is happening. And now seeing the success, because now I can say that now how actually in remote areas the people really get impressed. I went to one district in Meghalaya, there the district collector was there in that our DDM office where I was there. And she was gung-ho about this project. She said that so far nobody had ever thought that actually this kind of a thing can be done. Actually, though the commercial material is available, but thing is that affordability is the one. Actually, that is the differentiator between the menstrual hygiene and not having the hygiene. So now that is where actually we are trying to look into it. And moreover, SHG women, it is a not-for-profit. Actually, they will just maybe get the daily wages, which otherwise they are foregoing. But at the same time, they are able to do this one. And now this year, we already planned in a very big way that we are going to cover maybe another 30-40 districts. And also maybe this is going to be a big movement, because in my opinion, this is one single most contribution, I think, which we can do to the society, as this is having its own economic impact also. Because in microfinance, when I used to teach, actually quite a lot of literature we used to scan around and say that now a rural woman will normally forego minimum 5 to 6 days of wages because she is not able to go to the work. And that is because of all these issues. So now, can we really save her from that kind of a disgrace and also loss of employment? And that is going to give her additional, at the rate of normal now 200 to 300 rupees daily wages. She should not forget that 1800 to 2000 rupees, which otherwise is her right. So that is why this is having both economic value and also maybe the health related kind of thing. They will save them from the cervical cancer. A plethora of benefits. So now actually what we have done and what we are going to invest is maybe peanuts when compared to the benefit these people are going to get. So now we are extremely happy. Now in the process, what we have done is that we have even roped in maybe few banks also, like State Bank and Central Bank of India. Even they can give the working capital loans to these people, because otherwise also they are giving maybe the money without any collateral security. Even they can tailor a product for that working capital. That is how things are happening. And we are extremely happy, and we are trying to maybe broad base it further in the days to come.
This is truly such a phenomenal movement, sir, because like you mentioned, it's not just contributing to the menstrual hygiene, but it's having such a large and wide-ranging impact with their economic empowerment and livelihoods. And that's what I think makes this project truly something very, very special. So now going forward, let's talk a little bit briefly about COVID. The pandemic has hit us hard, and especially the rural diaspora has been affected to an impact that maybe none of us will be able to even fathom. So can you tell us a little bit about what the impact has been on the rural community and how NAB Foundation has been able to sustain their work or reroute it in terms of COVID?
COVID is very deleterious. It really created havoc and still creating, and we don't know for how many years it's going to create. Now, if I go through the whole thing, because though it is still not yet confirmed, but maybe the way maybe United States, UK and others are telling it's a man-made virus and can mutate uninterruptedly till it makes a real major debacle. So now, if that is the case, I think we have to live with the COVID. There's absolutely no way of looking at it. Now, everybody has to take care, but in the process, now what we have seen, because actually we are there in this, maybe the rural development activities for the last 40 years. We are the ones who give quite a lot of a very, very concessional money to the state governments to create the infrastructure at the ground. It may be the irrigation projects, roads, culverts, markets, anganwadis. You just name even that, maybe the drinking water supplies. If you just go to any village in the country, most of the places are having maybe one or the other initiative of NABARD, which was given as by way of maybe concessional finance to the state government. Now, COVID is something which was very unexpected. Actually, it's a black swan event also, that there should be a kind of a superlative should be put. Black swan is a very small when compared to the COVID. Now, when this COVID has come, actually that people were caught unawares, because that our infrastructure with regard to health is rudimentary in many places, though actually it was able to cater to the normal illnesses. I am not denying that maybe the PHCs and others are not working. Everybody is working. But thing is, nobody has thought that this kind of a havoc can befall, and it will create so much of a damage at such a fastest pace. So when these things are happening, actually we found that there are some areas which need to be tackled. So now, but I can say in the last year COVID also, that few state governments I have seen that when they are borrowing money under our RADF, Rural Infrastructure Development, they borrowed money for creating oxygen plants. I don't know, it may be the foresightedness or that may be the shortage which they are feeling that time itself. Mm-hmm. I think the second wave had really brought to the notice of everyone that how important it is to have the oxygen supply. Right. Otherwise, which we take it for granted, because the God has given oxygen in the air, so nobody has brought about. But thing is, now it is the one which has to be created. Right. Now that maybe thanks to Government of India, I think at a rapid pace, they really did the whole thing. Maybe cutting the oxygen to the most of the core industries and supplying it to the medical purposes. Mm-hmm. So now the situation is very normal. But at the same time, the situation is normal because it is at the cost of the industry. Right. So now the time has come for each and every primary health center, the hospital, and also the district level administration should have this kind of oxygen supply mechanisms forever, because yesterday I was looking at it that maybe the COVID 2019 and they say that 2026, 2032 also there are some variants people are expecting. So if that is the case, I think now the time has come to reorient our thinking about the infrastructure at the ground level. Besides the normal infra which we create, health infra is also very important. And that is where now we are also trying to look into it. Really, what are the new activities that can be incorporated into the rural infrastructure? And here that NAB Foundation, maybe I can say NAB Foundation cannot finance, but thing is NAB Foundation can enable the state governments to go for such kind of institutionalizing that kind of a mechanisms, and really how the NAB Foundation can bring all the players together to see that maybe such kind of systems are established at every place, so that everybody will get the benefit out of the system. That is where now we are taking, because if I say that, I'll say that NAB Foundation is the face of NABARD's developmental activities. So now, never actually we have such kind of a thing. Earlier we used to do it as a kind of a departmental activity, but now we want to show it that actually this NAB Foundation is a player who has arrived on the scene, and actually they should be able to rope in all the players, converge all the activities, and pool in the resources so that it will be very easy for us to do the thing.
Right. Absolutely, sir. I think this pandemic has truly revealed that it's the healthcare infrastructure where more investment needs to be made. And like you mentioned, it's enablement to do that, which is actually more important than the finance during this time. Now, sir, we've spent some time talking about all the work that has been done in the past. Now, just looking forward to the future. What is your vision for the NAB Foundation? What is one area that you would like to work in the next few years?
No, NAB Foundation, we want to upscale our activities so much. That is my first priority. Second thing is now, though every foundation, because if you look into the others one, actually they put a earmarked funds.
Right.
NABARD doesn't earmark fund, but thing is, this is what I told the NAB Foundation, that now as and when you require the money, we will chip in from our developmental activities which we can do. So that is not an issue. But at the same time, my entire idea is NAB Foundation alone should not do this one. Actually, right now we should really bring in every player on this arena, so that actually it will be a very good kind of an effort where a much more impactful kind of a thing can happen. I'm not saying this investment, impactful kind of a activity, so that maybe the people at large who are in that area will get the utmost benefit. And that is where actually we want to put NAB Foundation at this one. And NAB Foundation is a nimble-footed, NAB Foundation is tech-savvy, and everything which we are doing a tech platform. So now in that process, we are very confident in the years to come. Actually, NAB Foundation is going to be one of the major player with regard to the developmental activities in a convergence mode.
Absolutely, sir. And I think with that, I think I would love if you could just leave our audience with a message. We're going to have a lot of social sector professionals who are going to be watching this interview. So what is the message that you have for our audience today?
I want every one of them to pitch in, to be in touch with us, and whatever they are doing, actually that now let us have a kind of a common brainstorm first as to whether, because now activities being done in a disparate way actually may not result in a kind of a good kind of a result. But at the same time, if there is a kind of a concerted effort by everyone, it's very easy. So now we are open to ideas from all these developmental professionals who are there, and we are open to ideas from even the foundations, other foundations. And NABARD is willing to talk to every one of them, to give them their space. And at the same time, we will put our money also, and we want others' money also to be put, so that actually we will do quite a lot of impactful kind of activities at the ground.
Right. Thank you so much for that message, sir. And I think, like you mentioned, the development fraternity has so much to offer. If only they can aggregate their resources and their understanding and put it to work together. With that, sir, we would like to bring this interview to a close. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It was truly a pleasure learning about your experience and insights, as well as hearing about the impact that NAB Foundation is having at scale. And I think we look forward to witnessing NAB Foundation do some great things in the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Amni.